point is, ladies and gentlemen, that greed, for lack of a better word, is good. Greed is right. Greed works. Greed clarifies, cuts through, and captures the essence of the evolutionary spirit. Sorry I didn't memorize that one today. It's a little bit late, but let's do some questions. Okay, so one of the last questions from last week. Jay says, feel like I'm running my head into a wall looking for guidance. Had his first meet. Went 385, 230, 450. Congratulations. Started back trying to progress shortly after, and it has been ugly. His schedule hasn't been very good, and today he missed fives on everything. 345, 215, 385. So, looking at what you're doing there, okay, you're getting very frustrated, which is understandable, and you're considering reducing the weight, continuing Texas method with eights, which worked out last fall, and the pick up fives when you wear out the eights, or go back to a linear progression, 3 sets of 5. My suggestion would be to, let's see, so you went for 345, 215, 385. I wouldn't necessarily go for eights. At the time, I would address perhaps some other things. I mean, how was your, how's your mobility, how's your sleeping, eating? Address those other factors, and then perhaps drop maybe 10% off each lift. So take the squat back to about 310, maybe 315. Take the bench down to about 195 or 200, and then take the deadlift down to maybe 350, and start progressing again. See what happens then. I would do that as opposed to going back to a linear progression or doing sets of 8. What other questions we got here? Let's go back to this week's questions. There are a lot of erroneous questions. Do you like movies about gladiators? Of course. How's med school going? See ya. That's great. It's fine. And then about a bunch of worthless questions. Not worthless, but not serious. Okay, so Caesar asks a question about conditioning, and then later on, Corey asks another question about conditioning. So I will give you my perspective, and he's asking in particular about shuttle runs, burpees, battle rope kettlebells, and how they're affecting his lifting days. Do you have any advice or rules you follow? I would say slowly progress into it. Don't go all out right off the bat. Maybe start with 1 session a week and go to 2 sessions a week. It depends on what your goal is. If you're looking to compete in powerlifting, maybe 2 days a week is sufficient for you. If you're maybe one high intensity, one lower intensity, maybe a little longer duration. If you're looking at competing in strongman, you might need to do a little more high intensity conditioning, something like a medley, depending on the competition that you're going into. But my advice for both of them for both of you, is to do them the day you're training. I wouldn't do them on days that you're not training. A lot of people talk about active recovery. Personally, it impacts my ability to recover if I do conditioning on off days, so I incorporate it into the end of a training session. Or if I'm doing a medley or something, that's on a Saturday. That's after my intensity day. So just to wrap that up, don't go crazy initially. Just start with 1, progress to 2, then adjust it depending on your goals, and just figure out what those goals are. Aaron asks about his patellar subluxation, and he wants to build up his VMOs and not his VLs. He's had success with leg extensions. Just curious, what is there that I could be or should be doing? I'm not necessarily sure. I'm not gonna lie to you and tell you I know exactly what you should be doing for that particular issue. I would, as opposed to my recommendation to always talk to a doctor, I would talk to a specific type of doctor. Specifically, I'd talk to a physical therapist that has an understanding of training and your goals, what your limitations are, and have that individual figure out exactly what you should be doing. Let's see. What are your thoughts on using partial reps at a heavier load? I personally have not had any success with them. I've never tried it, so I'm not going to say that, well, at this time, I don't think I'm going to be using them. I know that some people do use them and have success with them. However, unless you're an advanced lifter, perhaps you might not need to do them. I'm not very pro. Let's see. I don't have a lot of experience programming for people that do Olympic lifting. There would be a lot more benefit for doing partial range of motion movements for Olympic lifters. But for powerlifting, strongman, general strength training, I don't necessarily know that you would need to do them. Ranbire, I apologize if I said that wrong. He asked about anterior pelvic tilt, or what people call butt wink. Does it matter or not? What's the best way to fix it if it does matter? My suggestion would be I need to look at this particular areas that Kelly Starrett says to mobilize in Becoming a Supple Leopard, which you should all buy. It's a quality book. It's good reading. I'd have to look at the areas that he suggests you mobilize. Unless it's really bad and causing a significant amount of pain, I wouldn't freak out about it. I mean, I would try to address it. I would address your mobility, but don't stop squatting because of it. Unless it gets really bad to where it is hurting you. So, it depends on how it's affecting you. But yes, there are ways to increase your mobility so that you do have anterior pelvic tilt or butt wink. Darwin asks, how would a partial rep look in the press, like starting the bar at chin height, not locking out, even like board presses but overhead? I think he's referring back to Chris's question. Yeah, something like a rack lockout, perhaps. Personally, I wouldn't recommend doing it for the press. Excuse me. Board presses aren't bad. I mean, that is also a partial range of motion movement, but I don't necessarily know that that's what Chris was trying to address. But board presses certainly aren't bad for bench for your lockout. Tim asks, lifting while cutting, what do? Are you trolling me? I don't know. But lifting while cutting, I would just back off a little bit. If your immediate goal is to drop 20 pounds, you're probably not going to be able to recover as well. I'm not saying you're not going to be able to train hard, but keep in mind your primary goal is to, I guess, lean up a little bit for whatever reason. So, yeah, maybe take it down a notch. Don't, see how your recovery's going. Maybe step up your eating a little bit if you need to. And, yeah, why are you cutting? I guess that's what the main question is. Emiliano asks, let's hear about those Rolling Thunder chain curls. My biceps were a bit tender on Monday, so I didn't really feel like doing my normal 5 sets of 10 with a straight bar. So I was looking around the gym, and I only have one dumbbell that I'm able to curl. I'm not going to curl the 140 and the 145 that I have. But when I get some curls in, I didn't feel like doing band curls. So I saw my Rolling Thunder handle, and I said, hey, why don't I attach the chains and do some curls? And it was actually pretty sweet. I got a sick pump from it, so I would suggest trying them if you can. Andrew asks, what's the best way to transition from high bar to low bar? I'm at 460 right now, high barring. Well, I'm going the opposite way. I'm trying to improve my high bar. So I guess it might be a little bit similar. I've decreased the intensity a little bit for my low bar, and I think that's helped get my high bar up to where, not quite to where it needs to be, but it's gotten my high bar squat a bit better. So, for example, the other day I did I low barred 500 Saturday, and then on Tuesday I worked up to 445 for 3 high bar, and I mean I think that's a PR. I think that's the most I've ever high barred. I'm not quite sure, but so maybe lower the intensity on your high bar and then slowly start incorporating low bar. I don't think you really need to go back down to anything like 315, but it's just going to depend on your your mobility and the strength of the muscles that you're going to recruit in a low bar squat. So just go with, start with maybe something like 315 and then see how that goes, see how that feels. Maybe do a few sets of 5, and then, slowly progress up to where you're, I would think you would best at 460, maybe get your low bar up to around 500. It depends though. Let's see, Sam asks, what are your favorite workouts using the Prowler and sled? Ooh. I don't know about favorite. I don't really like the Prowler. I use it, but I don't really like it. I like longer distances. I guess strongman medleys seem to be between 50 and 100 feet. So I like to train my Prowler and sled between 50 and 100 feet. Yeah. Favorite workouts though? You could do anything. You could do it real fast. You could do it real slow. You could do high or low with the Prowler, reverse drags, forward drags. There's all sorts of stuff you can do. I don't know if I really have a favorite though. And let's see. Corey asks, can you give me some tips including so that's the same question, right? Alright, looks like I need to go to bed, so I'm going to upload this video and I will talk to you guys next week.